Good morning, Danny. As I'm sure you can imagine, I'm not going to bother publishing that rat's nest from last night as a video. Morning, Danny. I got two Dannys with me. This is a good morning. And the Banhammer and the Fisherman. Hello, good morning. And good morning, good morning. I dropped the link there in the chat on Rumble and hell everywhere else, and I'll try to remember to make it the pinned comment on YouTube and the like. This morning's episode brought to you by coffee, and there's a link to buy me a cup if you feel so inclined. We do appreciate the contributions. So, I hope you all have your good hot cup of get shit done and you're ready to start your Friday, get off to a good start and move into a good weekend. It's Firearms Friday, and that means DGUs. You'll notice we haven't had the Cameron with us all week. Well, Cameron's been busy. He's been fulfilling some contracts and getting to spend some time with his kids, which is important, and I love you for it, brother. I'm happy for you. So, we got this first story coming out of pity I don't see Legion in the chat because this one is for the Florida man. WFLA out of Sarasota, Florida. The Sarasota County Sheriff's Office is investigating a shooting that happened at a vacation rental home on Sunday. Okay, here we go. Deputies responded to a home in the Gulf Gate neighborhood located in the 6500 block of Colonial Drive. According to a report from SNN TV, a family on vacation awoke someone on the lanai allegedly trying to break into the home. One of the family members reported shooting the intruder because they felt threatened. All parties involved are accounted for, and there is no threat to the public at this time, the sheriff's office wrote in a release on Sunday. As of Monday afternoon, the alleged intruder remained in critical condition at Sarasota Memorial Hospital. Wow, that is a short write-up for... Okay, so we don't have... Alex says y'all need a legend because I still have no idea what the acronyms mean. What acronyms? Are you talking about DOT, DRT, and BRM? Are those the ones you're talking about, Alex? Just checking. Otherwise, the Yeah, so DRT is dead right there, DOT is dead over there, and BRM is basic rifle marksmanship. So DOT means that the attacker made it to the hospital before expiring. It means that they were removed from the scene alive and passed away at another time. And that looks like this. DGU, Rod, DGU stands for defensive gun use. If the attacker survives, then we say that's a BRM. The defender needs to go back to the range for some basic marksmanship training. That would be this one. Oh, a near miss. Better luck next time, right? And then, of course, the DRT, dirt, where you put them in the dirt, is dead right there, like that. So that's the basic scoring system. And for a while, I'll go through topic for a minute. For a while there, Cameron was still working on it, and we've been working on it for a while. Rod says my audio cuts in half when I go to the smaller picture. That's weird. Can't fix it right now, but I appreciate the note. Audio issue on scene switch. I'll try to take a look at that later and see what's going on there. Damn, you made me forget where. Oh, so this is okay. We'll on off topic. Steve says it changes to a different mic, and I suspect you're right. So I'll figure out what's going on there, and that's probably a leftover from the last time we had the audio fail while we were live, and I tried to hot fix it and didn't realize I didn't hot fix it enough. So I'll chew on that in a little bit. Like in this story, it seems like there might be a little more to it, but this isn't a great example. So we've had some stories on the show where there's something extra special about it, right? We had one early on. This was a couple of years ago, where a woman shot and killed. She scored a DRT on an armed attacker in a public park. He came up with a gun and tried to rob her in a public park, and she was holding her baby, like 6-month-old baby, and still drew and put him down, right? So we've talked about doing achievement badges for those, and in fact, guys, I would absolutely love to get some ideas from y'all to help with that. Actually, anything like the Mama Bear badge. We've had stories where the attacker took multiple rounds and walked away. Well, or not walked away, but didn't die right there, right? So, if the lawfully armed citizen defends himself, puts 6 rounds center mass in the attacker, and it's not a DRT, well, I feel like there's 2 achievement badges there. There's an expert marksmanship badge for the shooter, but 6 rounds in the torso, 6 rounds on center mass, and even if you die in the hospital, right? Just not a DRT. That's impressive. Without a vest, that's toughness, right? Fee, yeah. Alex says +1 resilience. Fee says that would be a Rasputin badge for the bad guy. And hey, if you dump 6 rounds, for example, into a BLM activist and they don't die on the scene, that's plot armor, right? So you can send messages. You can always go to thebrushfiremind.com Oh, come on. Come on, computer. Don't do that to me. You can always pop over to the brushfiremind.com, and there's the Buy Me a Coffee link is right there at the top. But right here, you've got these, drop us a line, right? Tell us who you are. Tell us how to contact you, right? And then for this particular topic, in the email subject, I want you to put the phrase achievement badges, and then describe the badge. What are the circumstances that earn the badge? And I'll try to work on making like a unified style for the achievement badges, so that, you know, kind of like if you're playing a video game, all the achievement badges kind of look similar, right? And I'll even say new achievement when we roll those out. But frankly, putting together the badges is a lot of work. Just the ones that I showed you a minute ago, the DRT, the DOT, and the BRM badge, right? That was a couple hours of work to put those together. I'd be happy to do that work, but it's just a matter of finding the time to do it. And with the achievement badges, I want them to have a unified theme. And I think that theme is going to look a hell of a lot like the 1950s diner Burger Boy style from something like the Fallout series, right? And I'll put a little maybe steampunk twist on it or something like that, and keep the Brushfire Mind logo color and style thematically through that. So, and my wife is chomping at the bit. She wants to see more bodies on the floor, and that is half of why I married her. Good Lord, because she has correct opinions. So KLAS, this is from Las Vegas. Las Vegas is an interesting place, as I'm sure you're all aware. And Alex says we should organize a range day. I agree. And Sergeant Major, I would absolutely love to organize a range day with some of these people, especially Alex, the Steves, the Dannys, Fish and Golf and Guns. You watch the show enough, you just might get an invite. In fact, Fish and Golf, if you'll send me an email with some contact information, we might just need to get to know each other. I would love, Sergeant Major, if we could bring some of these guys, hell yeah, GCM, and bring some of these boys down to the farm and just shoot cans in the back 10. So, y'all send me some messages. It's the show at brushfiremind.com, or you can always just go to brushfiremind.com and use the contact box there, and those get forwarded to my other personal email. So, without any more further ado, let's see what happened in Las Vegas, where, as I'm sure you all know, the fastest way to get there is doing coke with a hooker at 172 miles an hour in a $150,000 sports car like Hunter damn Biden. A home intruder was shot and killed in North Las Vegas Tuesday afternoon, according to police. I already like that first sentence, guys. We're heading in the right direction. We just need, is it an O or an R? We're going to find out. On July 4th, around 1 p.m., please believe that Freedom Day is not the day you want to catch me outside. Dear sweet God. On July 4th, around 1 p.m., officers received a call saying a home intruder was shot in the 600 block of Sand Sage Avenue near Cary Avenue and Revere Street. When officers arrived, they found the intruder dead. That is a DRT. Dead right there. After the preliminary investigation, police determined that the man, who the residents did not know, entered the home through the front door. Not the right play. A home intruder shot and killed at North Las Vegas home. Same. This is an ongoing investigation. No further details are available at this time. Okay, so there is not enough information here to go into a detailed analysis, but I'll give you, based on it being the 4th of July, I strongly, I don't want to say suspect, but it would not surprise me if there was some alcohol involved. It wouldn't surprise me at all to find out that what really happened, this might be a tragic story of a neighbor across the street being shit-faced drunk and getting lost. But there's no more information with that story. That's unfortunate. So, Sedgwick County DA, man arrested in City Nights shooting, acted in self-defense. I believe City Nights is a nightclub. Yeah, there it is. Wichita, Kansas. What? Sedgwick County. Okay, I see. Yes, Sedgwick County DA. I had a brain fart there. I was thinking that was CO for Colorado. Wichita, Kansas. No charges will be filed against the man who was arrested and accused of firing shots inside City Nights nightclub on July 2nd. He's set to be released from jail Thursday afternoon. Sedgwick County District Attorney Mark Bennett released information stating that it appears Brandon Young was acting in self-defense in response to shots fired by 2 different gunmen within the bar located in Wichita's Old Town Entertainment District. Bennett said the decision not to charge Young follows days of analyzing video surveillance from inside the club. Okay. This actually brings up something that I kind of want to talk about. The law has changed here in Georgia. It used to be, and Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I understand this correctly, I'm not sure if it was before we went to constitutional carry, or if it was part of the same bill. But if I understand correctly, it used to be that your concealed carry license, if you had a CCW in Georgia, said explicitly on the license that you weren't allowed to carry in a bar. Not you're not allowed to be drunk while carrying, right? Not you can't go into a bar armed and then have a beer, but you cannot be in a bar armed. Now, as much as I'm a Second Amendment absolutist, I can almost get there. I can almost get to it's not okay to be armed while inebriated. Not quite. Because frankly, if you can't trust your judgment far enough to rely on your self-defense, and if you can't be trusted with a firearm while you're inebriated, there's some more important issues there. Your judgment is too imperable. But the way that I understood it to read previously is that it was unlawful to have a gun in a bar at all. Okay, Alex says prior to HB 60, so before 2016, you couldn't carry in a bar. Since 2016, you can, but don't drink. Now, I agree entirely. You should not drink while armed. I agree almost entirely. I'm totally comfortable with having a beer with my steak. You know, I'm going to go into a restaurant and have a cold beer. One cold beer with my steak. I don't think that is sufficient to say I can't be armed, right? But here's where I had a real problem with it before. You're telling me that me and the boys, some of my old vet buddies, want to go and have a couple of drinks, and I'm the designated driver, as in I'm not going to be drinking. I'm going to sit there at the bar with my buddies, tell some dark jokes, and I'm going to sip on an unsweet Diet Arnold Palmer because I'm a diabetic. And under those conditions, I can't be armed. Right? I think if you're gonna go out with the boys or the girls, ladies, if you're gonna go out and have a few with your girlfriends, if you've got a designated driver, the designated driver should also be the designated defender. If you're going to voluntarily, or let's be real, involuntarily, enter into a situation where the law forbids you from defending your life, then it should be that you can have essentially what amounts to voluntary private security. Right? So, no, I'm not advocating for absolute inebriates to be armed. But if you're the designated, and it's cool now, right? Now in Georgia, if you're the DD, you're not drinking, you're in the bar and you're armed lawfully, you should be good to go. Alex says, we have a ton of booze at classes and IVs for the next morning, but there is no drinking during training. I'm good with that, too. Steve, correct. Overwatch is always armed, 100%. And Alex mentioned in the IVs for next morning. Buddy, I tell you what, if you've never gone and gotten shit-faced drinking Boilermakers with Marines, and then first thing the next morning, you throw a couple of IV bags into your asshole and go run 10 miles. Are you really living? So, there is more to that particular story, but the issue of guns in bars, like, again, I'm not saying I want to see a bunch of drunks armed, but I also don't like the idea that the DD can't be armed. And like Alex pointed out, in Georgia, at least, you can be armed if you're the designated driver and you're not drinking, and you should be good to go. and this story right here elucidates exactly why I believe that to be the case. Apparently, right, Young had been booked into Sedgwick County Jail on suspicion of aggravated battery following the incident that left 9 people wounded and led to 2 others being trampled. Bennett said additional investigation and forensic analysis on the case will continue. Right? The Wichita Police Department issued a 30-day suspension of sitting nights, which began on Monday. Surveillance video shows the exchange of gunfire from inside the City Nights nightclub on July 2nd. The incident left 11 people injured. So here's the response from the Sedgwick County District Attorney. This morning, July 6, 2023, the lead detective assigned to the investigation into the shooting of the City Lights nightclub on Sunday morning, July 2nd, 2023, presented the results of the investigation of the Office of the District Attorney. The subject of the presentation this morning was Brandon Young, the individual previously booked on suspicion of aggravated battery following the incident. Additional information has been uncovered by the intervening investigation. Based on the current status of the investigation, Mr. Young was not charged this morning. The decision does not constitute a dispositive ruling. Additional investigation and forensic analysis will continue. Mr. Young will be released from custody after processing out of the adult detention facility this afternoon. The matter remains under investigation. Additional suspects are currently being sought by law enforcement. As such, Supreme Court Rule 3.6 limits this office's ability to make further comment. Which specifically governs the special responsibilities of a prosecutor. Given the legitimate public concern, this is just reading of the rule itself. Given the legitimate public concern in this matter, a brief explanation as to the analysis regarding the evidence presented this morning against Mr. Young this morning is appropriate. Presented this morning against Mr. Young this morning. Okay. I didn't read it wrong. They wrote it wrong. That's fair. Video surveillance from inside the club was analyzed over the past several days. Based upon this detailed analysis, Mr. Young appears to have fired a weapon in response to shots fired by 2 different gunmen within the bar. Based upon the current status of the evidence, Mr. Young appears to have acted in self-defense and defense of a third party. The law that controls this analysis is as follows. Defense of a person, no duty to retreat. Right. It says 215222. I assume that's the Kansas state code updated. A person is justified in the use of force against another when and to the extent it appears to such person and such person reasonably believes that such use of force is necessary to defend such person or a third person against such other's imminent use of unlawful force. A person is justified in the use of deadly force under circumstances described in subsection A, that's the above, if such person reasonably believes that such use of deadly force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to such person or a third person. Nothing in this section shall require a person to retreat if such person is using force to protect such person or a third person. That's a major difference in the law in red states and states with larger blue cancers. Places like New Jersey, for example, they will find you guilty of murder if there was a window in the bedroom where you shot the obvious burglar threatening you with a gun. If there's a window you could have jumped out of, which is psychotic. Excuse me. Same, no duty to retreat. A person has not engaged in an unlawful activity and who is attacked in a place where such person has a right to be, has no duty to retreat, and has the right to stand such person's ground and use any force which such person would be justified in using under Article 32, Chapter 21 of the Kansas statutes annotated prior to their repeal, or long chain of numbers and amendments thereto. And this is important right here for cases like this. An immunity from prosecution or liability does not exist in all states, and it should. I'm not a big fan of federal law or the federal government in general. If we're going to have federal laws that are the same across all states, this one is one that might be worth considering. A person who uses force which, subject to the provisions of the aforementioned and amendments thereto, is justified pursuant to and amendments thereto, is immune from criminal prosecution and civil action for the use of such force, unless the person against whom force was used is a law enforcement officer who was acting in the performance of such officer's official duties, and the officer identified the officer's self in accordance with any applicable law, or the person using force knew or reasonably should have known that the person was a law enforcement officer. This is poorly phrased because it appears to suggest that the only factor to consider if the person's a law enforcement officer is whether or not the user of force. So if a cop is trying to murder you and you can't reasonably have been expected to know he was a cop, then you can be immune and you can defend yourself. But the way this is phrased, it seems pretty clear that even though it's unreasonable to make the assertion that if the cop is trying to murder you and you would otherwise be perfectly justified in the use of force, if you should reasonably have been expected to know he was a law enforcement officer, then you're not allowed to defend yourself. That's a little scary there. So, like I said, up until that, something like this, immune from criminal prosecution and civil action for such use of force. And that's an important one too. Immune from criminal prosecution and civil action. Okay, we all know OJ did it. We do. We all know OJ did it. But he was acquitted. And then he lost in civil court. Right? Donald Trump. There have been a lot of headlines that Donald Trump has had to pay out settlements over sexual harassment claims. But go look at those cases. Right? When we saw the claims, it was like, 30 women came out and said Donald Trump sexually harassed them. And then you read the story and, one of them was a porn star that said she went back to his room with him voluntarily. She brought a friend. He bought him a fancy steak dinner through room service. They didn't have sex. And as they were leaving after dinner, he tried to give her a kiss. And she kissed him. And then she says she's followed sexual harassment. Ridiculous stories. where there's no evidence that anything ever happened, certainly not evidence sufficient to even begin criminal prosecution. And they still took him to civil court. And he paid him hush money. He basically paid him shut up money to go away, settled in civil court. The idea that you can be found innocent by a jury of your peers of a crime and then still be hamstrung and ruined. I'm not saying, obviously the Donald was not ruined. He's got money for hush payments. Fine. But I don't. You don't. Most of you probably. Civil litigation can ruin you. Even after you've already been destroyed. Well, no, especially after you've already been financially ruined by the exorbitant cost of dealing with defense against the criminal system. Never forget that. The criminal system is exactly that. It is a criminal system. So, I think it's already 8 o'clock. I'm going to have to go ahead and put a pin in it right there. But this story, I think pretty well elucidates what I was talking about a minute ago with the idea of being the designated defender, right? You're the designated driver. That means you've got Overwatch as well. Because it sounds like what might have happened here is this guy, Mr. Young, might be a damn hero. He might have just put an early end to a mass shooter event. They said there were 2 gunmen, and he returned fire in self-defense. This might have been, how many mass shootings can you guys think of where there have been 2 gunmen? That's substantial. That's scary. So the idea of your designated drivers not being armed, that should infuriate you. Now, quite separately, my advice is to just don't spend your damn time and money in bars. They're expensive, right? Save that money and have barbecues in your backyard. Way better. Well, I don't have a backyard. Well, make better choices. So, it's Friday. That means it's time for the safety brief. And given the conversation we've just been through on this one, here's your safety brief. Don't drive drunk. Don't fry bacon naked. And go thee armed out into that scary world. If you have to go to a bar, if and I get it, you want to go spend some time with some buddies, eat some nachos, maybe have a beer, but you're the designated, if you're the designated driver, be armed and be on watch. Because it's one thing to say that your judgment is impaired while you're drinking, while you're inebriated, and you can't be, and you can't be trusted to make those very important life and death decisions on when to draw and return fire, right? But here's another factor I want you to keep in mind in such a situation. Your friends, on whose behalf you are the designated defender, designated driver, right, for whose sake you have personally chosen responsibly not to drink so that you can serve that role. It's not just their judgment that's impaired, but also their situational awareness. So they are doubly vulnerable to a significant event in that situation. So it's not just your job to be the trigger man, to be ready to skin that smoke wagon and defend the helpless people around you, but you have to be aware of your surroundings. Because they're not going to be able, they're almost certainly not going to be able to be the one that says, oh shit, some stuff's going to go down. And if they are, they could be wrong. So you got to pay attention to that. So be armed, be safe, and we will see you on Monday.